David, what brought you to write the book Homicide, A Year in the Killing Streets?
I'd been a police reporter for 4 years, I guess, and I'd covered all these murders piecemeal, 4 paragraphs at a time. And one of the things you had to do in Baltimore was go and hang with the detectives, because otherwise they wouldn't answer your phone calls at 11:30 at night when they caught a murder. So I would spend some time up in their office, sort of shooting the breeze. And at some point in 1985, I went up there on Christmas Eve with a bottle to say, thanks for answering the phone, and because you had to deal with them every day. And I was bringing them a bottle of whiskey, and I ended up staying there for most of the shift, the midnight shift, which, of course, a lot of humor to Christmas Eve in the homicide unit. And I wrote a column about it, but I remember there was a detective. He died shortly thereafter, sadly. His name Bill Lanzi. He was a really great guy. And he said, Bill Lanzi.
Oh, Lanzi.
Yeah, different from Lanzi.
Yeah, okay.
But he said, if somebody got up here and just for a year, they'd have a hell of a book. And he said it not to me, but to a couple other detectives. They were telling us, and that clicked. So I wrote a letter and I said, will you let me into the unit as an observer for a year? And incredibly, they said yes.
Barry, how did you come to find the book?
It was sent to me to develop it as a feature. Mm-hmm. And when I was reading it, I thought, well, to condense it down, it would be better for it to play out as an episodic thing and just keep it going, because you're seeing the mechanics of how the homicide squad functions, and that's where it's before there were long forms. Where you say, still, this for episodic television, it would be better served. And so I ended up. There's that lucky moment that you have in your career where I got 6 episodes that NBC agreed to do 6 episodes of whatever I wanted to do.
I remember that.
And no, they couldn't. They either, if they saw the first episode, they didn't like what it was, they can just buy it all out. And so, and they had no control over the script or casting. And
it's
so
not like that now.
No, it was that one little window of time when, and then the key thing, which I had said, is it should be shot in Baltimore on the streets, because I can't picture shooting in Baltimore and then go back and do everything in LA. It would lose some kind of authenticity. And they said, well, how can you do it? It's too expensive, which is how it led to shooting it with Super 16, which no network show had ever done Super 16. So those things happened in that odd way that we're able to do. And we did the 6, and then they ultimately picked it up from that point.
Then they did 3 more.
And then, but slowly but surely, they kind of went, okay,
right,
we're all right.
And then Tom, how did you get involved?
I got a phone call from my agent, which was a rare thing. And I had left LA and I was back in New York, and I was going to go to like Greece and write epic poems about Ulysses and things like that. Yeah. Well, you became my Ulysses. And I got a call, they're going to do this show in Baltimore. Barry Levinson, he wants to meet you to be the showrunner. And so I was like, oh, all right. And I went out to LA, and Barry and I, while he was shooting a feature, we sort of met off and on. Right. Yeah. And I don't know, you said, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And that's how I have no idea what I said or why you chose that to go that way, but I'm glad he did.
The key to it is, Tom, had, I thought in the conversation, they had a sensibility of what we were going to go do. And I said to him, and the key thing is, you start with, there's no car chase, there's none of that, because you're starting with, there's somebody is dead.
Yeah.
And that's the way the show has to unravel. So we're not in an action mode. It's not an action piece. It is trying to solve a crime, but it is a character piece of how does the squad function on a day in, day out basis when every day they're faced with the fact there's a homicide, there's a death, And how does that work? How do these characters think? How do they interact? What is the price they pay? And in that conversation, it sort of led to you saying, well, all right, I think this will work out.
Yeah, I remember you said no car chases, no gun battles. And I said, that's impossible, I'll do it. The idea of a cop show with no gun battles and no car chase. We did have one car chase with those awful little cars we had.
Cavaliers.
Cavaliers. This was the car chase. They pulled up to the curb and got out. That was the entire action sequence for that episode.
That was 41 takes.
Before I ask about the casting process, I actually wanted to ask Anya and Julie. So as the show went on, and you were in the writer's room, did that imprimatur stay, no car chases, no, was it when you were breaking story, did things come up and you said, oh, no, it's not the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think we followed, and we came in a little bit later, and I came in the third season, and it was sort of, yeah, this is what the show is. This is guys talking about shit while they're trying to solve a murder, and it was which was incredible. I mean, because you could write a scene, people talking about how much they hated, Cheese Whiz or something, and then at the end of the scene, they got a call. It was a witness came forward, and it didn't have to be driven by the procedure. It didn't have to be driven by normal television, like something exciting had to be happening at every second. I mean, the challenge was to make those conversations about Cheese Whiz or cookies or parallel parking the excitement of the show.
The closest the show came may have been an episode that was lucky enough to land with me, which was about bounty hunters. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Going down to Florida.
Yeah.
So that, that stepped outside of the usual world of Baltimore and the show and these more character-driven conversations. But even so, I think we did it in our own Homicide way.
What are you all proudest of?
3.5 minutes. I think the authentic. Are you going to say something? No. I'll speak for you. I think that you have every right to be very proud because when I was working on the show, I would go out on the road to do stand-up, and cops would come to the show. Whether I was in Milwaukee or South Carolina or wherever, and many of them felt that they owed us a debt of gratitude for being so authentic and so realistic. And a few of them said, yeah, we have a Munch in our squadron, or we have a Pembleton in our, so that to me was rare in television, where you could create drama to such a degree that the audience feels so connected to it and so real. I mean, I don't remember anything before Homicide that was anywhere near that.
One of the things that, for me, was that Baltimore was a principal character in the story.
Right.
And as much as any of us actors, and it was well represented by these guys. And that's what I'm most proud of, that they got that city. It's not like NYPD where they shoot under the 10 freeway and pretend they're the 59th Street Bridge. So we do that. But that's... But you do it for laughs. We do. You do it for laughs. So that was, and Baltimore, as a testament to these guys who are from there, we really got to say this is the town.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are you proudest of, Barry?
I'm not sure, but in it there are two things which are aside from it. One is that we because of the show, we built a real film community around it, and we brought a lot of people into the process that had never been involved in it. So we developed a lot of people in various departments, in that regard, which was terrific. And we brought in, I can't even remember how many new directors in the course of the show, that have gone on from it. So it was like almost a learning experience or training ground. But the film community really expanded out until Baltimore got rid of tax incentives and whatever, and then literally they lost the entire base that we had developed over those years.
Clark, directed an episode, and obviously now is a great director, but because of you guys giving him the shot, very proud of Clark Johnson.
Tom, proudest?
Oh man, I think from my, I've been so blessed in my whole career, but Homicide was special for me because we got to do things that we got to break all of the rules and still have a lot of fun. I don't know. It was like a joy, you know. It was a joy just to do it. So I don't know if that's pride, but joy is, I don't know.
Joy is pretty good.
I came on full time in season 4, and I was with Anya. We were sort of the below. We were story editors below Julie and Yash and below Tom and Barry. And Tom said something to me when I was sort of like figuring out what to do. You know, my newspaper was not. He was like, "I'll teach you how to do this." And I didn't even know what he was saying at the time, because I thought, like, I didn't know what a camera lens was. And I sort of, like, I remember the second day on set, I was like, why is the guy turning a knob next to the camera? What's the point? Wait, the guy who's looking through the lens doesn't make it focus? You guys are doing it backwards. I mean, I knew nothing. And slowly over the course of those seasons, I didn't even realize it was happening, but I was like, because I was making classic mistakes, one after the other, hilarious mistakes, telling actors, that, oh, I wrote that line for him, but can you take it?
Oh, boy.
Disastrous, yeah. I mean, or writing, like I'm writing for a detective that I have, I'm writing for a guy in my memory who's actually a detective, and I hand the line to Andre. I mean, I still remember the moment, which is I gave you a line where, in Baltimore vernacular, they'd say, we tried up his mama's house, meaning like we kicked in the door of the suspect's mother's house, but he wasn't there. So I gave you, he tried up his mama. And you looked at Mama, and he was like, did you write this line for me, for my character? Do you remember this?
No, I'm
Okay.
fascinated.
You were like going, because I think I would say mother. I think, like, and I was really going like, and I couldn't bring myself to go, I really didn't give it the thought it deserved. I couldn't vocalize that. And I said, I'll change it. And you went, no, I'll make it work. Yeah. And then you went behind the camera, and he went the other way. It was like the lesson of all time. I never, like, he went, I tried up his mama's house. And after the take, he gave me like a little look over. He went like that, and I was like, I got it. All the characters are different, and they speak differently, and oh shit. But it was like that with everything. It was really a school of, you sent us to casting only when we were ready. We were allowed to come to editing when we were ready, but we were allowed to do all those things. It was really an incredible university of learning.